Blade Talk with Scab and Joe.
The American experiment requires us all to push the boundaries.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. Sit back, relax. We got a pretty good show here. Welcome, guys, to Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. So we're doing our first, and Scab, welcome. Nice to see you, buddy.
Good seeing you.
In your handsome form, right across from me here. And this is our first collaboration attempt. Our topic is obviously going to be Work Tough gear, and specifically the knife that we both reviewed was the Kitsune, right? Kitsune, okay? It's a Japanese term. I think it means like fox or something like that, from what I read. Both got our reviews in, and Scab, let's start with you. What do you think about the knife?
No, I love it. I view it as a straight EDC. Here's the thing with this knife, and I had a couple thoughts. I see it as a true everyday carry. I see it really, truly, honestly, as kind of a catch-all blade, but I also see it as kind of a for lack of a better term, kind of a self-defense. And I'll tell you what my thought on it, Joe. I thought about when I go to strop this, I'm thinking about taking it down a little thinner, making it razor sharp, and using it for, and I'm talking about the kind of sharp where you don't pass the knife off to anybody.
Right.
You just make it a very personal EDC.
I can see that because it has that kind of like a blade geometric that you really feel like this thing really needs to be like a scalpel, like sharp. And I think you can definitely get it to that point because it has enough beef around the edge that I think you can do that. And it's thin on the spine. It's not a very thick spine. So this can definitely be like a personal, like everyday EDC scalpel for sure.
And it held up. Mine came just razor sharp. It really did. And you and I talked about that. Anytime you do cutting on the industrial type stuff,
yeah,
it's gonna wear on it. It just is.
Yeah. But
honestly, this one might have come as sharp as anything I've got from them. With these, it's kind of a catch-22 because I don't know how you do, but I always cut paper first. That's not just on camera. It lets me know where the edge is. Right. And so the other day when I pulled it out and I went across the phone book paper, and I mean just that nice kind of ASMR type sound. It cut it so clean I didn't want to cut anything else with it because you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, of course.
You start cutting, it's not coming back until you resharpen it.
I feel exactly the same way because when you feel like you get a knife and you want to put it through a review, you feel like you don't want to do anything too much off camera. And the thing is, I did end up cutting a lot with this off camera because I was anxious to cut with it, but then when I went to physically cut with it, all the industrial materials, I can't say that the edge was diminished at all. It was still very, very, screaming sharp. But after you're just going through multiple cutting sessions, it definitely diminished a little bit. But it's still paper cutting sharp.
Here's one thing too. That I've been asking a lot of people, other YouTubers and whatnot. This is a polished edge. So there's the polished edge and there's the toothy edge. Now, most katana and sword guys, because they want that slice, that next level cut, I'm sure you're the same way, really love that polished edge.
Yes.
I enjoy it to a point. You know what? There's been times, and I may still do it, ask Mr. Vic, let's just say the Nomad EDC, just throwing it out there. And he does a different steel. I may see if he'll send me one with a toothier edge to see if that prolongs the life. Does that make sense?
I would imagine it would. Technically speaking, I can see how it might prolong the edge a little bit to have a little bit more of a toothier edge. I can see where you're coming from with that.
But I don't dislike it. I don't dislike it. I want to make that clear. It's not that I dislike it. It would be, though, for simply, you know how it is when you run a channel. And for you guys watching, we're the same as y'all. We like to cut. We like to do. We like to. And we want to, when you get that good edge, when it's just dialed in.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. whether they send it to you to review or not, there's times you just go, shit, I don't want to. Jed Hornbeak's a lot that way. A lot of Jed's knives. It's like, I just want to appreciate it and look at it. Work
Yeah.
Tough, out of every, when they send a bag or a box of knives, there's always 3 or 4 in there, man, that it's just like, damn it. It's perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Right. Well, getting back to what you said on your review, and obviously, as always, Scab, great job on what you did on with the knife. The fact that you said one thing about Work Tough Gear in terms of the reviewer, being the reviewer, getting these knives in, reviewing, multiple Work Tough Gear knives, how it's easy. It's like an easy function to review Work Tough Gear knives. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I obviously don't have the track record that you do with as many Work Tough Gear knives as you reviewed, but for the few that I reviewed, I feel like it's easy because you're expecting consistency. You're expecting to get it razor sharp to very sharp out of the box. You're expecting to have it solid, have it put together well, to not have anything loosen up on you, to be able to bang the crap out of it and not see the pin start popping out, to have great fit and finish, and just a consistency in terms of how the edge comes to you from the factory. And I couldn't agree with you more.
And there's a confidence there. And I'll say this because I've been blessed, and I think better than anybody how well Work Tough has treated me. If I'm wasn't in the position I'm in now, where I've got so many knives to review, first world knife problems, right?
Right.
If I was coming up and I needed to get something out, it's going to be a Work Tough, not because they send free knives, not because there's anything owed, but I know what to expect.
Right.
And that's I think that was my point there. Like just say I had to get a review out. It's something, anything. I can lean down and get this. This is the Work Tough Gear Panthera designed by Carnivora. And I know what it's going to do. I know, it's a little different blade shape. So there's going to be some nuance there, but I know that it's going to hold the edge. I know that it's going to last.
And I'm getting into your pattern as far as trying to be consistent with what you're cutting and how you're cutting it. So this way the viewer can see, all right, A, B, and C knife that I reviewed handled it this well. How did this one handle it? So in terms of basically, and this is not, see, the thing I like about this knife is the fact that it's a light knife. It's it's 1.4 ounces. Okay. It's got it's a 4.2 inches, the blade length, about, 4.4 ounces knife weight. It's a light knife, but it handles itself like a medium-sized knife. It's a solid knife. So in terms of going through the normal routine of doing your cutting materials, like, what is your take on how basically this knife handled itself? And do you think it handled itself a little bit more above its weight?
Yeah, I think it acquitted itself quite well. I was very impressed. There were a couple things that really stood out to me with the knife. One was sandblast hose. I didn't cut a lot of it, but I didn't have to. With that nice thin blade, it went straight through it like it was supposed. And that's with me holding it.
Yeah.
That's different than it laying down. And then the ratchet strap. I'll tell you what impressed me more than any of it. That 3/4 inch nylon rope that has beat some knives' ass.
That looks like it's tough to cut, I got to tell you.
Very tough.
Yeah.
And the piece that I got off the floor that's full of dirt, rock, sand. And this knife flew through it, I think, faster than any. I was very impressed. And I'm impressed also with the design of the knife.
Yeah.
With the handle. And I know you're going to show a lot better views.
Yeah, I'm going to get a lot of views on screen.
But the thing with the Kitsune is there was always a lot of concern about the handle. And really, truly, honestly, I said it, and I said this to Jeremy when the Kitsune L come out. This is a knife that everybody should be able to hold before they buy it, because if you hold it, you'll buy it. It doesn't look that way. Yeah. And I know that. And that comes in, Joe, too. That's part of the difficult part of what we do, because we're not trying to convince anybody. Right. But when you're telling somebody something like that is very comfortable in hand, then it's almost like you are trying to convince them because you want people to check it out. What do you think about the overall design?
What I said on my review was the fact that what impressed me about how this knife was designed is the fact that you have a nice, beefy ricasso here. okay, which shares that generous finger choil with the G10. It shares the space. So it kind of just now, instead of setting yourself back, you have yourself in between the Ricasso and the G10. So I think the design is fantastic. And what I felt like with this knife is the fact that having this type of grip, I still have a little bit of space here. I felt like I had total control over the point, over the edge. It's light, it's nimble in the hand, it's agile, but it handled itself well, handled itself solidly. So, and having that sharp edge and having that extra point. Now, when we talk about sandblast hose, when I was cutting to the sandblast hose, I have something that I'm trying to coin called PS, a PS rating, which is penetration and slice. So how well does it penetrate? And then once it penetrates, how well does it slice? PS rating on this as far as how it penetrated the sandblast hose, and then once it's in, how it sliced. I think it got pretty much out of 10, probably a good solid 8. I mean, it has like really sweeping, that really defined point here. Still pretty, I mean, if you look at the spine though, it's still pretty reinforced. It's not like that fine where you think it's going to break on you, but it penetrated extremely well. And then once it's in there, because you have that really long point there, it sliced really easily. So I was very impressed with the design of the blade, the design of how you have that handle and the ricasso. And the only thing, if I had to call it any type of a con whatsoever, which is really not much of a con, the finger jimping here is a little aggressive, a little too aggressive, but not to the point where it's unusable. If any other reiterations of this, if they smoothed this out a little bit more, other than that, I mean, there's not really much to complain about other than as far as what I can see anyway.
Yeah, the jimping's good with me, but that my hands are beat up.
Yeah,
so
it's like I said, it's not like a make or break. I just that I've had jimping in the past. Like if I held, let's just say, what's the Phobos knife that I'm thinking about? The Calcula. If I held a Calcula, that has really comfortable jimping. Very effective, but it's comfortable jimping. I'm just thinking about all the knives that I've held, and it's functional, it's comfortable. You don't feel like you're stressed holding it and working with it. Like I literally last night with this knife, and I put a couple clips of it in my review. For about 40 minutes, I was trimming fatwood while I was watching Oppenheimer. Okay. So I was watching Oppenheimer with my girls and I was trimming fatwood at the same time. And I felt after that time, I felt it after a while, like just kind of stressing it and stuff. Not to the point where it was bleeding or I was breaking skin, but if there's any con whatsoever, that's the only con I would give it. But I'm very happy with everything about the knife in terms of how it's held, how it feels, how it's balanced, how you hold it, and the shape of the edge, how it came out of the box.
I would say too, on the pommel right here, that's done that way for a certain reason, and that adds to the inner grip.
Yes.
And I did want to touch base on that. Some folks do not like a protruding pommel, J.C. Owens. And I get that. I've got a Tops missile strike that I don't like that because I keep hitting it. But this is purpose driven. And the purpose of extending it is so you've got minimal, you've got your G10 there, but you can also, like when my pinky rides down on it, and it's not uncomfortable. Everything's rounded, everything's smooth, everything's good.
Yeah, I don't think it's meant to be like a skull crusher or anything. I think it is like I agree with you. It is more purpose driven where you have that extra purchase there.
It's just part of the pinky. Is what it is.
Yeah,
it's part of the handle. You can use it. I mean, you could use it if you went fencing grip. The other thing to point out is with it being SK85 high carbon steel, it's very easy to sharpen in the field. Incredibly easy, and it has a 90-degree spine, so you can strike a ferrocenium rod. That's why I say this might be as much of an EDC as they put out.
Yes,
with the carry options, you can make it a neck knife, which I hate, but you can make it a neck knife. You can wear it as a belt knife. You got the sheath there.
Yep.
Or you can go pocket fixed blade where you do the paracord through and loop it over your belt.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, and it's Molly compatible, PALS compatible, or you could probably tech lock it and ride it high. So there's a lot of options here. I like the long, thin blade. That's what I like.
But I think the next experiment that I think I'm going to try as well with this is to really try to go with a much more of a keener edge. I would probably go as far as making this probably an 18 or a 17 angle on. And the great thing is I love love. This is now a saber grind with the convex edge.
Mhm.
For me, that's my favorite. I love,
Yep.
freaking love a convex edge.
They do that. They do that on
Love it.
99.99%.
I am such a big fan of that combination of the saber grind with convex cutting edge. But with this kind of like sliding your fingernail right across it, you'll feel the chips. For me, I don't feel anything. It's like glass. There's no damage.
Yeah, I don't feel anything either. And I'll say this: there are times where I feel like with work tip gear there should be some edge damage.
Right.
I've hit things shouldn't have hit, not on purpose, and there's not. Now, I do want to add this, and I was going to mention this in a video coming up. Environment is a big factor too. I'm in the South. I think the high today was 55 or 60. So it was warm, sunny, might have been warmer, a lot of softwoods at work. You know, there's a lot of factors. I don't have time working how I work and living where I live to pick up a bunch of stuff. You know, I try to hit the harder stuff on the weekend, but Work Tough Gear does a phenomenal job. Now, I know Michael Emler from Crazy Sharp, I sent him a couple to check out, and he took one up and was hitting like some of that dry brushwood. And he said, man, it got some chips. He said, but, you know, there's sand, there's dirt, there's rocks, he said, I missed a couple times. I think that's more expected use. And where you're at, where you have the colder temperatures,
Yeah.
you know, I think some of that is to be expected. Joe, we have just come to an unrealistic expectation of certain knives, you know, and people get mad at that, but there's nothing to get mad at. I mean, we want a 1/4 inch thick, bomb-proof, bulletproof fillet knife, and it's not realistic.
You know, expectation of these knives never getting damaged, or it's impossible to damage them, and then when they are damaged, there's a major disappointment. I think people have to put that out of their mind a little bit, because, like you said, how many times do you beat the crap out of the knives, and most of the time nothing happens, but every once in a while something's going to happen. Like, I'll give you an example: the Carnivore that I tested from Eric Out, was a designer. I think I really pushed that knife pretty well. It cut really well, did everything fantastically. I found that towards the base of the edge there was micro chips, but nothing to the point where a stropping won't take it out. But it's to be expected. Is that saying that, oh my God, the heat tempering, you know, it's like, you know, the panic alarm is going to go off? Is the heat tempering terrible? Oh my God, it worked tough. Yeah, screw up. No, it's expectations versus reality. You know, things are going to happen. We're cutting through steel belted shit. And every once in a while, you're going to get a piece that's going to damage it. It is what it is.
That's my point, and that's what I was going to say. And as a knife YouTuber, we're responsible for some of that, because some of the stuff, you know, that I sent you to cut is still belted.
Yeah.
If you got a tire, not all tires, some of them are nylon reinforced, but like the tires at my work, they're trailer tires. They're 10 ply, they're still belted. There's going to be some micro damage. But with Work Tough Gear, I've got to say, it just doesn't
interpret into something that's going to be, you know, devastating, right? Which is good, and that's a testament. Yeah.
Or catastrophic. Now, I know that Heavyset Tactical, John over at Heavyset Tactical, broke the tip on his Kitsune, but he fixed it right back. I'm not sure how he did it, but that's what I was going to say too. I think there's a lot of factors, but overall, one, Work Tough Gear is probably my favorite company, I would say, because of how easy it is to test. And then two, you got some really good designers. And the thing that I like about Jeremy and his designs, some of them look a little wild. We got the Wilson and, you know, the Thor, we got all this stuff, but they're functional.
Yeah.
And even Eric Aller, some of his stuff, I've had people, you know, want to argue, oh, that's tactical. No, he makes it for woodscraft. That's with basing it on his experience. So there's a lot to be proud of with Work Tough Gear. I said in my video, and I'll stick to it, when the only bitch you have is they don't make enough knives, they're doing something right, you know? And nobody wants to make more knives than they do. You don't think they want to make, I mean, it doesn't make sense, but they're coming on strong. I'm happy with them. I'm very pleased with the Kitsune. When you mentioned the collab, I thought, man, why don't we collab on a big knife? But I'm glad we chose this knife because it's such a cutter.
All right. So at the end of the day, guys, Scab and I both, you know, reviewed this knife. We've held this knife. We've carried this knife. You know, we have our own personal opinion on what this knife means to us or what this means to Work Tough Gear. My personal opinion, this is a very welcome addition to Work Tough gear, to the point where it really is a great EDC. I feel like this is something you really want to put in your pocket. It's an easy carry. I mean, you slip it right in, put it in your pocket, scout carry, whatever you want to do. It's light enough, but it's tough enough to really handle everything you're going to do with it that you would need a fixed blade EDC for. It'll give you a little camping ability. It'll give you ability in terms of cutting through anything that you need to cut with it. And portability is also there. So I think this is kind of falls into like an EDC utilitarian type of knife that can do a lot of things pretty well without excelling on one thing or the other. That's the way I would interpret it. And I think it's definitely a welcome addition to Work Tough gear.
I would agree.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, spot on. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. What I see with the Kitsune is a true EDC. And guys, what I'm saying when I say true EDC, I mean something that is in pocket every day. It fits the bill on a lot of things. If we're really just being honest with our work day, you guys, I can't tell you what you do at work, just like you don't know you know what I do at work because I show you every day. But I think it's something that you could use in the kitchen. I think it's something you can do at the office, and it's small. It's small enough that it's not going to be, oh my God, it's well made, it's well designed, and it's going to be purpose driven how I carry it. And I agree with Joe. It's a needed addition. It's another pocket fixed blade. And to me, you can't have enough of them. And that's really
Work Tough gear is known for their really big, impressive choppers. When you think Work Tough gear, that's what you think of. But when you come up with a smaller frame knife like this, and there's such a big place for it. Not only Work Tough gear, but I think in terms of the public, in terms of people who use their knives every day, people love this size knife. They really do. You know, they'll take 1 million of this size type of knife over it having a big chopper. So I think this is definitely this is a home run for them. I think they should definitely dwell on this type of knife a lot more, because I think people eat it all up.
I agree. 100% agree.
So guys, listen, this is our first collaboration together. Obviously, it's not only going to be Work Tough gear. We'll definitely try to collab on other type of knife brands that we both have our hands on. But we need your feedback. Let us know if you like this type of collaboration type of feel. And whether you like it or not, I think we like it, so we're going to continue with it. So hopefully you do. And Scab, it was a pleasure. This was a lot of fun. And this will be on both our channels. So you're going to see this. Again, my name is Joe from JS Bladecraft. That's Scab from Quiet Boys Outdoors. You'll see this collab on both our channels, but we're always going to be going in as Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. So guys, hope you enjoyed it. Scab, thanks for being here.
Enjoyed it, bro.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next video.